that's true. But it is truth that there's been miscreations and slanting away from the feminine aspects of the divine for a very long time. Most religions, all of them that I know of, are male dominant on this planet at the time. And so we've had centuries and centuries of the male concepts about God. And so because Mother's Day, of course, we're going to focus on the feminine. And this month, we're about power. And of course, our power in unity is love, our loving nature. And some esoteric societies think of the father as will and the mother as love. And so it brings in a concept of the purple flame, the violet flame flowing through and penetrating the miscreations that are going on in the planet right now. And so blue is for the masculine and pink is for the feminine, and together they make a violet flame. And so these energies are now pouring through the illusions of separateness, that we really are equal. And I really loved our community song, and that we got goofy on it too, because that helps the speech today. That we're one with the heart of the mother and we're one with the heart of God. And so this duality inside of ourselves about the masculine and feminine, the more we can bring that together inside of ourselves, the more the external appearance of that will happen on the planet. So one of the concepts is to look at how we've been brainwashed, of course, over centuries. And growing up, I thought I was all Irish. Okay, my dad was Patrick O'Leary. I come from a Irish clan. Okay, but the truth is my dad's only half Irish. His mom's French Canadian, Beau Soleil, which means of the beautiful sun, Beau Soleil. And so even that was a mistruth. But I grew up with this Irish clan of characters, and so I believed that. And then one day it dawned on me that my mom's all Swede. And so it's like such a big part of me and my success in life and who I am as my mom. And but they were quieter, a little more stalwart, a little more focused, but boy, hardy, salt of the earth. And so I brought my mom's picture today, and that's Mabel, and she's a Forsman. Her mom was an Anderson. Grandpa came from Sweden as a boy. So my mom, salt of the earth, Mabel. Oh, yeah. And so to honor her today is a piece of cake for me because it's easy, really easy. And I'll tell you a couple just little stories since it's Mother's Day, but I went to a Catholic grade school and it was very expensive. And my siblings, there's 5 of us, and we all went through the Catholic school, so it was very expensive. And so my mom volunteered in exchange for our drill team uniforms that she would make them. Okay, and then it would pay off my tuition. And I caught her measuring girls for their drill team uniforms. And she was so happy, and she had all the girls laughing and lined up, and she was measuring and she was so happy in her ability to provide what she wanted for us educationally because she could sew. But it was more than that. Each girl that came, she was pleasant with them, fun, engaging with them. And one time I went in the home ec room and she was just by herself sewing. And I don't know, maybe there was 30 girls in the drill team. I don't know. Lots of sewing. Oh my God, it was big. And she was singing a song and sewing. I mean, talk about a contentment. She was content that that's how she did in life. And she was on the funeral luncheon committee at the church, and her prize-winning chocolate cupcakes made it to every funeral there was in Anaconda with the Catholics. Consistently through years and years and years and years. If any one of her friends were sick or their husbands died, off she was with a pot of soup. Pot of soup or homemade pie, off she went. That's just what she did. And no glory about it. It was just a natural way of her being. She would walk into my house, to all of us kids' house, and the very first thing she would say, "Oh, how can I help? Let me be helpful." So of course I had her helping with the stepkids' Halloween costumes and sewing curtains for the basement for me. And she was just a trooper about that, but that was the first thing she said. How can I help? And my sisters loved it when she came to their house because they had a mending list and an ironing list. But that's just a natural how she was. And she had such an unbelievable concept of fairness, being fair with her kids and fair with the grandkids. And so this is, 12 Afghans later, because she crocheted, every single one of them had to have an Afghan because she started on one. So that meant 12 got them. Okay. And so, but I mean, there was never a doubt in her mind that that's what she did. She was a professional seamstress because my dad wouldn't let her work outside the home, as if 5 kids and wasn't enough work. But anyway, that's another story. So she was a professional seamstress and she wanted me to be like her and be able to sew really well. Okay. So here I am, a sophomore in high school, and I'm in the Make It With Wool contest because my mom entered me. Okay. So I tailored a white dress and a blue coat and a white Aussie hat, an Australian looking hat with a thing. Okay. So, but I had to do it by hand and I had to learn how to roll a collar just right. And I had to put in the buttonholes on the coat by hand. I couldn't do by machine because she wanted me to win state. See? Okay, so on the dress, though, she made me put in the zipper by hand. And so all the little tiny stitches had to be exactly even. Okay, 7 times, not 1 or 2, 7 times later, I finally completed the task right. Okay, I was so mad at her, I couldn't even see straight. Okay, I had no tolerance for this because she was so perfectionistic and so good that I had to be perfect in that. And I was so mad at her that when I was pressing the coat for the competition, I pressed it too hard and I marred the front of the coat. Okay, I got second in state because I pressed the coat too hard because I was mad at her. Okay, so that's how particular and how lovely she was. And so when my husband teases me and I'm in the garden and it's 10 o'clock at night and he's teasing me that maybe he should bring me a flashlight, to help with that, I just have to say, well, I'm doing a Mabel. But it's not easy being married to somebody who was mothered by Mabel. Okay, because it's true, because she was a perfectionist about things being lovely. I hated setting the table for company. I mean, I hated it. It had to be perfect. There had to be flowers. There had to be candles. You had to measure with your thumb so the silverware was correct. Okay, and it had to be all done perfect. I hated that. Okay. To this day, I set a perfect table and ask friends that come to my house. My table's pretty. I have to do it. I'm a Mabel, a miniature Mabel. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to bring this up because we're so who we are because of our parents, both their eccentricities, where they excelled, where they failed, the time in history they were born in, where they were entrapped by those different phases of history. My mom was Betty Crocker. I mean, you know, it was her goal. She wore an apron all the time. She was Betty Crocker. I've had terrible teeth problems because I ate so much sugar in my life. I mean, I'm serious. She was good at making dessert. So these things that she excelled in were also tricky for me because I'm way too picky about some things. I mean, over the top too picky. And it's like, oh, I'm doing a Mabel. Oh, geez. Okay. So I wanted to discuss that because we're all this combination of the masculine and the feminine, where our parents thrived, where they were lacking, where they were emotionally blunted, where they excelled. And so to bring it all today in the service of Mother's Day, and to really own what I'm going to call our survival self, the parts of us that got defensive because of what we learned, what we were shamed about, what we were taught wasn't proper, and to bring these parts of ourselves to more and more an alignment in balance, because going forward, we're in really chaotic times. That's understatement. But we have profound opportunities going through this time in history. And I was really thinking a lot about the process of birthing and what happens during the process of birthing. And so when the baby signals the mom, and then the mom's hormones kick in, and then the contractions start and the dropping and the pelvis spreads. And so it's a very intense time. And when it gets really intense, it's called transition. And when I was a nursing student, I saw very nice women freaking out and blaming and screaming and carrying on. And I also saw women that were educated and breathing go through that phase with such determination and calm. And it was the same transition. And so I want to continue our education about what's going on at this phase of history so we can breathe through it better. So that we know that it's in a divine alignment that we don't understand. And why is this perfect? It seems like a mess to me. I don't know. But I do know when we're birthing anew in the transformation, the transition phase, I should say, it's really intense. And astrologically, we're in this phase. We're in the same phase that we were in the 60s. Look around at the protests. We're demanding genocide's not okay. We're demanding war's not okay anymore. And with it, profound spiritual insights are pouring through the planet now. Just pouring through. Not also are we seeing the miscreations, all the things and systems that are not working. We're seeing profound breakthroughs. We're seeing profound collectively joining together, praying for oneness, believing in oneness, praying that our hearts are open, that all sentient beings, their hearts can be opened so that we can live in a peaceful manner. So education really helps. But it only helps if we continue a practice of loving awareness. And I really want to emphasize on Mother's Day now, the power of nurturing, of caring for. Whether it's our friends that are troubled, talking to them on the phone, the young ones that are just so flipped out now because it's going down. And we have, because of life experiences, no more that we do go through cycles and it'll pass, but the younger generations don't know this yet. So it requires of us a deeper and deeper commitment towards uplifting what's not working into the light. I have a really cute saying here, if I can say it. This is from Abraham Maslow. One can choose to go back to safety or forward toward growth. Growth must be chosen again and again. Fear must be overcome again and again. I'm going to read that again because I love it. One can choose to go back to safety or forward toward growth. Growth must be chosen again and again. Fear must be overcome again and again. There is so much temptation to slide towards fear now and to just really demand that we're not going to go there. And it takes breathing, it takes meditation, it takes being thoughtful. And we're so fortunate that we have a community of support that understands this, knows it, practices it, upholds it. We're just really fortunate. And here's another cute quote I like from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The best thing one can do when it's raining is to let it rain. Okay, so I'm going to read that again. Okay, so the best thing one can do when it's raining is to let it rain. Okay, so this natural birthing of the new, which is the Aquarian age, which is about equality, is birthing, and we're in the middle of it, and it's painful. And there's a real tendency to project and blame during these phases. It's all your fault, it's all whatever. It's in divine guidance, even though we don't understand this. So this transitional phase, intense alignment. There's no time to doubt. The more we can cooperate with the nature of ourselves, which is love, breath, the easier the whole process becomes. So I want to talk a little bit about Mother Mary, because as a Catholic girl growing up, she was my favorite. I really liked it, and I loved that we had May Day celebrations where we crowned Mary. And we sang really pretty songs, and we wore our pretty little white dresses. And it was such a sweetness about the mother that knows and understands her kids. And what I know of is our kids are going through tough stuff now. So I want to invoke the Divine Mary. She was quite the character. She was very pregnant, and she insisted on going up to be counted with her husband. She didn't want to birth the baby by herself, so she got on the donkey, very pregnant, and off she went. Well, that's pretty courageous and bold. She didn't stay at home with other women to help her, whatever. No, she said, no, I'm going with him. I'm not staying here. Well, that's pretty brave. So I want to talk a little bit about, in the Urantia book, about the story of Jesus, about Jesus's parents, Joseph and Mary. And it says, Joseph was a mild-mannered man, extremely conscientious, and in every way faithful to the religious conventions and practices of his people. He talked little, but he thought much. The sorry plight of the Jewish people caused Joseph much sadness. As a youth, among his 8 brothers and sisters, he had been more cheerful, but in the early years of married life, during Jesus's childhood, he was subject to periods of mild spiritual discouragement. These temperamental manifestations were greatly improved just before his untimely death and after the economic conditions of his family had been enhanced by his advancements from the rank of carpenter to the role of a prosperous contractor. Mary's temperament was quite opposite of that, of her husband. She was usually cheerful and was very rarely downcast and possessed a very sunny disposition. Mary indulged in frequent expressions of emotional feelings and was never observed to be sorrowful until the sudden death of Joseph, her husband. She had hardly recovered from the shock when she was thrust upon her the anxieties and the questionings aroused by the extraordinary career of her eldest son, which was so rapidly unfolding before her at an astonished rate. But throughout this unusual experience, Mary was composed, courageous, fairly wise in her relationship with her strange and little understood firstborn son and his surviving brothers and sisters. Jesus derived much of his unusual gentleness and marvelous sympathetic understanding of human nature from his Father. He inherited his gift as a great teacher and his tremendous capacity for the righteous indignation of his mother. In emotional reactions to his adult life environment, Jesus was at one time like his father, meditative and worshipful, sometimes characterized by apparent sadness, but more often, he drove forward in a manner of his mother's optimistic and determined disposition. All in all, Mary's temperament tended to dominate the career of her divine son, and he grew up and swung into the momentous strides of his adult life. In some particular, Jesus was a blending of his parents' traits. In other respects, he exhibited the traits of one in contrast with those of the other. So I just wanted to bring that up because Jesus too, of course, being in human form, had both mother and father. And so today I'm really inviting us, and we're going to start a meditation pretty soon here, about the blending of those qualities, the masculine willpower, the feminine love, so that we can come to a more balanced state about going through the next few months. There's energy of revolution that we're revisiting from astrology that's going to hit in July. Okay, so we're going to do a repeat performance of the same energies that went through the original American Revolution. So the more we practice, the better we can birth through this transition in a way that's supportive to each other and the world. So I'm going to invite you to take all those many, many, many thoughts I just brought you and get nice and grounded, feet on the floor here. And take a nice couple deep breaths. The best thing one can do when it's raining is to let it rain. Breathe. And just really, really gently invite a blending of the masculine and the feminine, a blending of your father's lineage, your mother's lineage, and that today we're here to birth a new way we're to be with those lineages, that we're taking the love, the determination, the best forward. The world is not to be put in order. The world is order. It is for us to put ourselves in union with that order, with that love. That's from Henry Millay. The world is not to be put in order. The world is order. It is for us to put ourselves in union with that order. Breathe in the love, the understanding that it's already in place, that we're remembering to join with the oneness. Transmute, transmute by the violet fire, all causes and cords not of God's desire. I am being of cause alone. This cause is love and sacred alone. Transmute, transmute by the violet fire, all causes and cords not of God's desire. I am a being of cause alone. This cause is love and its sacred tone. Transmute, transmute by the violet fire, all causes and cords not of God's desire. I am being of cause alone. That cause is love, the sacred tone. Transmute, transmute by the violet fire, all causes and cords not of God's desire. I am the being of cause alone. That cause is love, the sacred tone. Transmute, transmute by the violet fire, all causes and cords not of God's desire. I am a being of cause alone. That cause is love of a sacred tone. Transmute, transmute by the violet fire, all causes and cords not of God's desire. I am a being of cause alone. That cause is love, the sacred tone. Transmute, transmute by the violet fire, all causes and cords not of God's desire. I am a being of cause alone. That cause is love, the sacred tone. Allowing that just to float in softly and gently. That we're already in alignment with the birthing process. And that we're able to remember it every time we return to breath. And then gently make your way back to the room. Now, in closing, let us say our prayer for protection with the new words. The light of God surrounds us. We are light. The love of God enfolds us. We are love. The power of God protects us. We are power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We are one.